Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I am Jack, joined by...
Dominic Castillo.
And Giovanni.
Alright, how have the two of you been?
I have been pretty fine so far. Nothing crazy going on. Work has been very scarce, as I say once again, as we only have pretty much today to work. And depending on the Lakers today, depending on their performance against Denver, it will literally say whether or not we will have more, days to work at. If the Lakers lose, then no more work because they'll be knocked out. If they win, meaning, the Lakers keep going on, we keep working, and that's good. However, they did lose Saturday, so that's not good. And we're currently seeing the whereabouts of people having their doubts. And it's not looking great, man. I honestly don't think we are going to have more working days, but it is what it is if they lose. In the meantime, I guess everything's kind of going pretty rough at the moment. School is crazy. People are graduating. People are having their finals. People are having their final essays and all that stuff. And I guess anything positive to come out of all this is that I got my Anime Expo badge finally. Meaning, this first of July I'll be going over there. It'll be pretty crazy. It'll be crazy, but nothing much else in terms of things coming up. It's been pretty slow, not gonna lie.
How about
That's
you,
cool.
Jim?
That's cool. I've been chilling. I've been reading. I think on Friday when we went out, we went to Barnes and Noble afterwards, and a few of us got some books. And I've just been gnawing away at the psychology of money, which I've been absolutely loving. I don't know, something about these books. It really gives you perspective on just the different sides of every story. And it's really interesting to me. Besides that, yesterday I decided to clean my car. Well, not my car, but the car that I will be using eventually when I get my license. You see how in the cup holder area, there's sometimes drinks, fall into that, and then with the heat, it gets all sticky with the coins, and then you just leave it there because you're can't be bothered to clean it. I had to clean that, and it's probably that stuff's been there for 3+ years. So I was like, I'm not gonna be driving around with fungus growing out of the cup holder. So I got my soap, I got a sponge, I let it sit for a little bit, and then I was cleaning. It looks brand new now. The inside of the car looks brand new. But I realized that I'm gonna have to buy some replacement parts for the car. Because I don't know, stuff is just missing. I don't know how it just went missing. You see the little flap. I don't know what it's called. The little flap that you put down to block the sun while you're driving.
The visor.
Yeah, the visor. One of them is just missing. I don't even know how that's possible, but one of them is just missing. So I have to buy one of those. I have to find one of those, and then my dad's gonna help me fix the paint. We're gonna go have it. I don't know what the technical term is, but they're gonna what's it called, bro?
Sanding?
Yeah, they're gonna sand off all the old paint, and they're gonna put a new coat on so it looks brand new. And there's some dents that I have to get rid of. The two front wheels are starting to I don't know the technical term. It's decay. It starts it looks like it's starting to break the rubber. So you have to get we have to buy 2 new wheels for the for the front 2 wheels. But yeah, it was exciting. I drove on the freeway for the first time yesterday. It was a bit nerve-wracking because there was some lunatics in front of us. And the thing that I realized is I don't think I'm going to do very well on the driving test because when I drove with my brother, when we went to the car wash, he wasn't telling me what to do, so I was just driving and I was calm. But as soon as I started driving with my dad, he started giving me instructions, and from that point on, I was just waiting for the next instruction, and I wasn't thinking for myself. and that made me even more nervous because like, oh, what if you have to turn here, or what if he wants to turn here, kind of thing. So I was like slowing down, and then when I didn't need to slow down, he told me not to keep going straight. I was like, it was really annoying, but hopefully that doesn't happen during the test because I'll probably fail because of it. What else has happened? I think that's it from my end.
All right. Glad to hear that the two of you guys have been doing well. As far as me, haven't been up too much. On like Gio said, on Friday, went and hung out with the boys, had fun there. Saturday, I went to hang out with a couple of my other friends. Oh man, Sunday or yesterday, I went with Mr. Solis, my brother, and our friend Ricardo. We all took a trip down to Long Beach to go watch New Japan Pro Wrestling's Resurgence event, and that was a real fun time. We noticed there was like seats available like near us, so we told Ricardo to come down. The only complaint I have for the show is like the seating, because so it is one of the most unique venues I've ever been in. It's called the Walter Pyramid, I believe is what it's called. Let me double check that just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's called the Walter Pyramid. Yeah, out in Long Beach. Really unique building, but the inside, it's what they use for their basketball team. And my only like complaint is that like in some of the sections they have seats, but then other sections are like bleacher style, like benches, and that's where we were sitting, and it was pretty uncomfortable. Thankfully, since there was no one like in our area that we bought tickets, I was able to lean back a couple times, but it felt like I was leaning back the whole show, because it was like, I don't know, it was tough to just sit up straight on those benches with like no back support. But other than that, it was a fun time. The show was real good, and the main event was definitely the highlight, even though one of the wrestlers did end up getting injured and it cut the match short. The energy for that main event was unlike any other, and Ricardo will tell you that himself, that like it was such a unique experience to be there, and it was pretty crazy to like be a witness to all of that. Dom, you remember that one video I showed you from AEW and New Japan's collaboration event, where it was just the four guys standing in the ring and the crowd was giving them like a standing ovation and chanting, this is awesome, when they hadn't even done anything?
Oh, yeah.
That same exact thing happened for our main event.
Ooh, those are cool, man.
It was just the two competitors standing there, and for like 5 straight minutes, all you got was cheering, and people, they even did do the "This is awesome" chant. Like, they hadn't done anything. And while I did complain about it, the bleachers definitely added a cool effect, because everyone started like stomping their feet, and because it was like bleacher style, like you heard the noise throughout like the arena, and it was just a real fun experience to be a part of. Like, me and Ricardo were obviously cheering very loud, and the two of us kind of just like, we're like, man, this is such a crazy thing to be a part of, Like, it was a pretty crazy event to be a part of, and it's funny because I didn't even think like too much about it, but yet it ended up being like a real fun night. As far as like match quality wise, I don't know if I'd put it above the Ring of Honor show, because that one was pretty crazy. But like in terms of the 3 shows I've gone to this year, it's like I definitely would put this one at the top, just because like despite being a smaller arena with like less fans, it was definitely like there was definitely more energy in there, I felt, and it was just a real fun experience overall. But yeah, that was yesterday. Today, right before we got on here to podcast, the reason I was so late was because I've been working on a script, and I'm trying to finish it up by tonight so that I can record the video tomorrow, because it is a very time specific and important video to me, and I hope to have it done by tonight and put it out tomorrow. And then after that, later this week, well, I already told Gio and Dom I will be heading to Arizona again for a short time, just to go visit my grandma and take care of her for a bit. And so I don't think that should interfere with our podcasting plans next week, because we could just move it to Thursday probably. But I'll have to see what I do in terms of gotta see what I do in terms of like my other sort of content ideas. Like, I know when we're over there, I'm gonna try and use a lot of the time to like actually work on my video scripts and stuff. And I also can't wait to do the my album of a day over there, because I just can't wait to like walk around Arizona and see like a lot of it. But that's been my week so far.
The weather's gonna be a lot worse over there.
I don't know. I went over there last summer and it wasn't that bad. Like, it was obviously hot, but it wasn't like unbearable heat. Unlike California. See, California has the issue of being humid, where over there it's like very dry, so it's like you don't really sweat a whole lot, surprisingly. Like, you feel the heat, but it's never like you're sweating buckets and feel like you gotta be butt naked just to escape the heat. And plus, almost every place there is air conditioned, so you're fine. Whereas over here in California, you'll be lucky to find places that are air conditioned properly to actually provide you an escape from the heat. I know my house isn't an escape from the heat. It's quite the opposite. It's like being in an oven in my house when it's the summer.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Should we start with the elephant in the room?
Why not? Let's go.
Overwatch.
Dude, I love Overwatch.
So I think it was
Overwatch.
last week that they announced that the original idea / concept for PVE has been officially scrapped, and that they will be proceeding with hero missions and things similar to that. And obviously the Overwatch community was very upset of this, because the main reason why they stopped supporting the original Overwatch game was to focus on the next game that was going to have a progressive PvE experience, and it was going to be like the next big thing for Overwatch. And for it to be not only, at first it was delayed because it was supposed to come out with the game, but then it was pushed back. And then, like 1 month away, like 4 seasons later, they decided to just scrap the entire idea and go with the easier approach, I guess. And people were mad, like mad. Like, people were going crazy over this on Twitter. So, what do we think about it, boys?
I'll throw in my 2 cents in that. What was a little ironic about this whole situation was that coming 2019, when they announced that they were going to stop working on Overwatch and to work on Overwatch 2, they announced an entire roadmap. They showed out like visual images with the upgrade tree. For those who don't know, Overwatch 2 was also going to have an upgrade tree, meaning that you could grind out your heroes so as to make them, either more powerful or gain new abilities within, each match. Meaning, there was an incentive to like pick, I guess, a main and then push that main to be the most powerful you could have it to be. Obviously, all this has been scrapped, and what people are theorizing about, or I guess giving theory, is that what Overwatch 2 is just simply put all the missing updates that the first Overwatch had, but just giving it, a new coat of paint, and with visuals and the whether it be with the new heroes or the new interface, and the difference in the with the scrap of the loot box system and with the battle pass and all that stuff. The people are thinking what Overwatch 2 is what simply Overwatch 1 was, just with the missing updates, and they just used the hiatus, or not hiatus, but I guess the long wait in between Overwatch 2 and Overwatch 1 just to simply work on the missing updates that they were backed up on this entire time. And people are rightfully angry because people have been waiting this entire time, knowing that Overwatch 2 was meant to be the PVE game per se, where it actually advances the story rather than just keeping it at a standstill with what we just know from the in-game lore, and as well as with the the cinematics and all that stuff. So it's like, what the heck, man? Like, we waited all this time for nothing, and it's just now we pretty much at a standstill with Blizzard, Activision Blizzard. I mean, not knowing what to do because, well, they just completely scrapped it all, and everyone is angry. No one's. We don't know what to do at this point, and it's just, well, we can't do anything. And I feel like this is just a really bad turn point. Overwatch 2, we're probably going to see a dip in numbers, and then a bunch of like video essays on this stuff. What can we do? We can't really do anything. And what's even worse is that there's players who paid money for the PVE version of the game, if that makes sense. Because everyone got Overwatch 2 for free. If you're a returning player, I think, or unless it's free for everybody.
It's free for everybody.
Oh, it's free for everybody, okay. But I'm pretty sure there was a paid version. I think it was like $20, $4, something like that. That had something to do with the PVE aspect of, Overwatch 2. So, what happens with them? Are they going to get refunds, or are they going to be compensated some way? Probably not. But, like, what do we do now? We can't really do much of anything. And we can see the roadmaps, I guess, have been scrapped pretty much in terms of the PvE aspect. And it sucks. Honestly, it's like I was waiting the entire time pretty much for PvE. That's why I haven't really been playing much on my own per se. But crazy. What I wonder, what's gonna happen, what might happen, is that Activision Blizzard might be maybe thinking of placing PvE, but like way later on down the line. I doubt they're. I don't know if they will be working on it, but I just hope they do. I mean, they could definitely, considering money incentives, right? Because Activision, they want money, right? So they want to profitize off of this. I feel like they could, but I don't know. I feel like just at the moment the devs are getting just too much hate over this when it's not mainly their fault. It's mostly just investors and all that stuff wanting the minimum viable product to sell off as fast as they can so they can get their money. We can't really do much else aside from it. So we end off with the bad end of the stick per se. Yeah, sucks. Crazy. You guys got any viewpoints on this?
The only thing that could make this worse is that when PvE actually does come out, they somehow manage to bring back loot boxes as a PvE incentive. So let's say if you want to upgrade your character faster, loot boxes. That's like the icing on the cake.
Right.
If they do that, then it's very shameful. But the one thing that I do have to offer to this conversation, because we kind of had it already in a voice chat not a few nights ago. See, my perspective on the whole thing is very different from Jack's, because Jack actually experienced it, and our friend Diego as well. So, seeing how when you guys were playing the game back in 2016 and forward, until it was, pretty much put on the back burner, I guess, like, the betrayal is different for you guys? Because to me, it's like, oh, we're not getting that anymore. Cool. At least we're getting, pretty cool PvP updates because according to the map, Roadhog is getting a rework and Sombra, which is nice because after last night's game against a Roadhog, which is obviously a Smurf, I can't wait for him to, I don't know, he needs to be changed. His hook is insane. But yeah, for me, it's like, okay, at least we're still getting PvP stuff. But for older players that have very strong feelings towards this, I don't know, anger isn't like the best way to describe it, like, because I don't know. But to me, I don't know, it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal.
I can respect that. I think what is most gonna leave a sour taste in everybody's mouth is that regardless of no PVE, they're probably still gonna throw in like the regular seasonal events like Junkerstein and those push point campaigns where you fight against bots and all that stuff. They're probably gonna throw those in, but it's just not gonna be the same. And how do you call it? I think people are just gonna be, I guess, overall, just not happy. Just not happy with the situation. It's that's pretty much all I can say. We really can't do anything. We literally can't do anything unless we become developers and we just happen to work over there. We can't do nothing.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
So, as someone who has played this game since the very beginning, back in 2016, and had to experience those dark times because of the fact that, as we mentioned, or as Don mentioned, back in like 2018, 2019, they made it known, we're going to stop development on this game because, we're planning on working on a sequel that's going to have like PVE and all this. It's very much a betrayal of the community's trust in a way. Because, kind of like how Gio was saying, he wasn't there for it because Gio barely started playing Overwatch when it came out with Overwatch 2. And I think Dom can agree, as someone who was on and off, it was a game that was at its peak that then took a straight nosedive because of the lack of content. You got a hero every 6 months, maybe even a year if you were lucky. Like, I'm pretty sure people, you remember, Dom, at one point people were creating timelines in a sense, like saying like this is it's been this many days since we last got a hero,
Oh yeah, I remember
this
that.
character came out this many days ago and we still haven't got another hero or another map. Dom brought up the seasonal events. It was 2019, 2020, and we were playing the same game modes over and over and over again. Junkenstein's Revenge is cool until you're playing it 3, 4, 5 years in a row, with no changes except, here's some new skins to, buy the fan base over,
Yeah.
And everyone put up with it because, it's for the betterment of Overwatch 2 and, the PVE that's going to come out with it. And what's it called? Oh, man. I remember people even saying that, back in, I forget what year it was, but they had, play testers for the PVE mode, They had it, right there for people to test and play with. And I understand what a lot of developers have been saying, and I completely understand that probably COVID messed up a lot of the time that they had planned to work on it and all that. But at the same time, since 2018 2019ish, that's 4 or 5 years worth of working on it. You weren't even working on the previous game a whole lot because you were trying to dedicate all your resources to the sequel, And all this just to come out and say that, like, you know, force your lead developers and all that to have to go on like an interview video and have to state it there, and basically state that the PVE that people once knew was no longer going to be a thing. And a lot of people overreacted at first and thought no PVE at all, but then the thing is, like, there's still going to be PVE, but it's such a bare bones version of what we were expecting. Like, obviously we had to wait for more details, but when I saw hero missions, the first thing that came to my mind was the tutorials from Rainbow. Do you remember those ones, Dom? Where you get to learn the operators?
Yeah, I recall it.
All I thought about was like that, but like in terms of Overwatch, it's probably going to be different in the sense of like it's not going to be you really learning the hero, but like maybe playing a mission that tells like their backstory a bit or whatever. But like to me, it's like that's what it kind of reads as. It's like those type of hero missions, and I'm just like, what is the point of all that? Like, in one way, cool. Maybe finally we'll get some lore on characters that we haven't even gotten lore about since the Overwatch started. Like there's still characters that we don't know a whole lot about, or like how do they fit into the overall puzzle that is the Overwatch story and all that, Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know. It's like, it's such a bare bones version from before where you were supposed to get talent trees and all these upgrades to abilities and all that. And funny enough, I saw someone bring this up and I couldn't help but just kind of laugh at the idea. The April Fool's update, they added like all these like wacky abilities to the characters, like very exaggerated abilities to them. And someone said, I wonder how many of those were actually abilities that you were going to see in the talent trees. Because when you looked at like footage of what PvE was going to have with the talent trees, it's like you saw like all these different like upgraded abilities, like Hanzo being able to shoot an arrow and it bounces from like target to target and all that. It's like when you looked at the April Fool's update, you kind of look at some of those like exaggerated abilities and kind of tell yourself how much of that was for the talent trees, and how is it that if you had some of them developed, you still couldn't push through with the idea.
Yeah.
And overall, it's just, it destroys the trust between the company and its fan base. And it splits it even further because you're going to have people who barely joined and are like, oh, well, who cares? Versus the fan base who's been there from the beginning going, how can we expect you to fulfill any sort of promise you give us, Who's to say that they even continue with the new PvE that they're talking about, Who's to say that in the future they don't come out and say, oh, well, we need to change this and this and we can't continue on with this and this, Like, now you have such a big lack of trust and even communication with your community now. And the people I feel like most bad for are like the content creators for this game, the competitive players for this game, or not necessarily the competitive ones, because it's not like they probably care about the PvE, but like the ones who like have stuck with this game for the longest, and especially like the content creators who like this is the one game they stick to. It's like you kind of feel bad for them because you're just like, they were hoping for new stuff. They had to play through a dead game, where there was no new content that they could provide to their fans. And to some people, it's easy to say, oh, just play other games. Like I know with Flats, they always like tell them like, just be a variety streamer. People will tune in for you because like, they're there for him and his personality and all that. But then how many times do you see those creators, they still be their same selves, they just go play different games, and they don't hold up the same fan base because they're so associated with one game, And it feels like they're confined to it. Now imagine having to be confined to this game that now, first off made you stick with it when it was at its lowest and all that, and now having to stick with it even though there's no promise of like new content, I guess you could say, or like there's no promise of at least, you know, like the whole, like when it comes to the whole PvE thing, like it was gonna be something totally different than PvP. You know, it was probably gonna be something funner for people to play, something that people could use to take a break, probably collab with other people on it, you know. And I don't know, I just kind of feel bad for like creators like that who it's like their whole sort of brand is Overwatch, and you know, for a lot of them, it's not that they don't. For a lot of them, it's not that they like hate Overwatch. A lot of them love covering its content, but you know, how can there's not much you can do when a game, you know, just stops producing content for years because the second one's gonna have all of this, and then you get to the second one and it doesn't even come with all of that, you know. Heck, they dropped Overwatch too early because they wanted people to have it, and people were like, well, this wasn't what we were expecting with the game, and then they just kept, you know, delaying it, and now we're stuck here, you know. We were told, PVE is coming in the first quarter of 2023, and now we're in the second quarter, heading on to the third quarter, and PVE is not what we've known it to be, you know. And you know what? Fine, they can go do whatever they want. You know, it's like I don't really care at this point anymore when it comes to Overwatch. But it just I just can't stress it enough how annoying it is that this game was at its highest of peaks, you know, and they shut it down because they wanted to work on a sequel, and now, you know, look at what happened. You know, the game was basically bare bones, little to no content for those 4 or 5 years, and what was it all for? You know, what was it all for except to come out with a sequel that switched to a pay model and a battle pass model and all this, you know, and now it's like there's nothing rewarding for any of the players, not the casual players, not the competitive players and all that, you know. There's nothing. You level up, what does leveling up reward you with at this point? Nothing.
I have a question for the panel. Would you guys say that Overwatch 2 now is more successful than it was than peak Overwatch 1?
I guess it depends how you define success.
Yeah.
Just like a very generic success as having a consistent player base, you know, and like having a consistent and engaging player base that play the game.
I would say no.
Yeah, I would say no. I would say 2017, 2018, around there, maybe at the start of 2016, that was the absolute peak prime with Overwatch. As they had esports, you know, those were things were popping off. A bunch of new streamers were coming through.
The various events that were cycling through those first 2-3 years.
Yeah. And it's just overall that initial peak was definitely the most popular era of Overwatch. I would say 2017 was literally the biggest, I guess, time, you know, Overwatch had.
Yeah, I know, like, I know numbers aren't the definitive way to look, and I'm personally am not like a numbers guy when it comes to various things, but like, you could probably go back and look at the numbers they did when it came to their esports, when it came to streamers on Twitch, how many viewers were watching the category of Overwatch. Heck, they might, well, I don't know anymore at this point when it comes to sales, but like, yeah, I feel like the numbers they had as a player base, as a fan base, when it came to playing the game, the esports, you know, the streamers they had coming out that were playing that game, I don't know, it just felt like it was way more successful now or then than now, especially when you look at stuff like new heroes now, you know. We got Ramatra, all the hype building to the hero reveal. He finally gets revealed, everyone's hyped, he finally drops, and it's like, There was no follow up on it. You never saw like any sort of hype to it. Even to a greater extent, Life Weaver didn't even get no build up. They just said, "Oh, we're revealing the new hero this day." There was no hype to it. They just dropped him, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay, new hero, cool," and that was it. No one really cared all too much. You look at the numbers they do now on like Twitch, any streaming service. You look at the numbers that they do when they have to stream their Overwatch league, their competitive league, and all that. Nowhere compares to it, and overall, like, fan base satisfaction isn't even close to what it originally was. Like, Dom, do you remember the original hype of like BlizzCon? Do you remember?
I remember
The videos of like the voice actors being there, people coming out with all these profound cosplays and all that. Like, and I have no doubt that they still do that stuff, but like, it just has, I don't know, to me it just has a much more like depressing vibe to it, because it's like you don't see a whole lot of that anymore.
I agree.
Like, I don't see like the type of content being put out that we were seeing in Overwatch's like early stages.
Man. I think. Oh, get my brother. We can go on.
Sorry, I just want to mention this. I think the biggest one that like you think of that really helped Overwatch differentiate itself and really put it like out there on the map was its cinematics, was its animation shorts that were tying to its lore and really connecting you with these characters. Like, I think that's what makes it so different. You think about the reveals of new characters back then with like when they did the short for Echo, you remember, with McCree and Ash?
Oh, yeah.
What other animations did they do? I'm trying to think back. Because I'm also like, it wasn't just like for new characters, like even establishing characters that were there from the start. Like, I always say it, that Reinhardt one is one of the greatest animations they've ever done, Like, that animated short for Reinhardt, that one is the one that I always point to and say, like, if they were able to do some type of series for it, and I've said this on the podcast before, like Arcane, like Cyberpunk's anime that they've done, if they can do something like that, like, it doesn't even have to be that super high quality animation style. They could easily do it in the comic book style like that they've done before, or in an animation style like Arcane, like the Cyberpunk one. Heck, you throw like other video games out there and other sort of series that have gone like animated styles like Castlevania. You can do various styles to make it work, and that's one way to get like fan interest back into it. But like, think, the last animation we saw was for Kiriko. We didn't get nothing really for Ramatra or Lifeweaver to really make us care for them.
True. Man.
I don't know. That's just how I feel about
like
the current state.
There was a very obvious missed opportunity for Ramacha because of his connection to Zenyatta. They could have done something with that for sure. But for Lifeweaver, since he came out of the blue, and it was kind of like the same for Kiriko. Kiriko's like, her cinematic short was cool, but it was like, all we know is like, yeah, her mom worries about her. Oh, that's nice. That's pretty much it. But then there's also the argument that he can't make every single cinematic reveal at the same level as like Reinhardt's, for example. The ones that like actually make you feel something. Because then there's so much they can do. But I don't know. They need to like work on making sure that their characters have some sort of relevancy, and that it's not just like, oh, the new character of the thing, because then it's kind of like, that's boring.
I get that. I don't know. Like I said, I I don't really care what they do from this point on. You know, like, I don't know. I'll probably likely still play the game just because, like, it's the one game that me and my friends can really play because it's not like I have any other games. But I don't know. At this point, my personal interest in the game, in the overall brand, like, it's at its lowest at this point. You know, like I said, there's no trust in its developers and its company. You know, I know that that's mean to, like, include the developers and all that, because, you know, it's not like they make the final decisions. They can only do what the company tells them. But it's like, at this point, I don't know. I am not confident in their abilities to actually stay true to their word about plenty of things. Like, they can show me all these roadmaps they want and say, like, this is all the stuff they have planned. But at this point, it's like you kind of just going with the expectation of, alright, sounds cool, I'll see it when I believe it, you know?
Other way around.
Oh yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, my bad, yeah. I'll believe it when I see it. Because other than that, nah, not really much. There's not really much that convinces me enough to think, to like think it won't happen again, do you know? But that's just me. With our final bits remaining, any final thoughts from you guys?
As a casual player, I'm still looking forward to the PvP stuff.
I guess for me, although the hopes of any PVE stuff are pretty much just non-existent, I still have a little bit of hope left for it. It probably won't be anytime near soon. Might take years, probably. Not relying on months, but probably years at this point. I honestly, I have no clue what's left in terms of this. After the announcement, I just don't know what we could do. We can't really do much. You know, it is what it is. That's it for me.
All right then. Well, with that being said, thank you all for joining us for another episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm Jack, joined by
Dominic Castillo.
And Giovanni.
Thank you all for joining us for this episode, and as always, we'll catch you in the next one.